and welcome to healthyhouseplants.com, where we teach you all about gardening in the great indoors. If you'd like to support our show, please use our Amazon affiliate link below. Today I'm doing a deeper dive into how to prune brown leaf tips off of plants. I do have another video which I will link below, as well as any other videos I mentioned in this video about brown leaf tips. I have information on how to prevent them, but when they happen, you usually want to get rid of them because they're kind of unsightly. So I went to one of my many dracaenas, because dracaenas are notorious for having brown leaf tips. And as you can see here, here is a brown leaf tip right there, which is good because it gives me something to work with for you today. So we're going to get a nice close-up view here of me pruning this brown leaf tip. Now, some considerations when you're pruning brown leaf tips. You want to cut to the shape of the other healthy leaves as much as possible. At the same time, and here's a little secret, to prevent, or I should say help prevent, the leaf from continuing to brown, is if you can just leave a little bit of brown at the very tip where you're pruning, and I'll show you that in a sec. If you can do that, then the plant won't start to brown again. So if you cut off into very fresh foliage, where you cut off will brown again, okay? It's not the end of the world. You can continue to prune it a little by little, but if you wanted to save yourself the work later on of having to do this again and do this again, then this is what you want to do. Now, what you want to do for this is pretty precision work here. You want to use scissors that are small. I'll put some links below for different scissors if you don't have any of these sorts of scissors. And I think these are kind of like nail scissors, and not sure these are too maybe, but they're very small so that you can do the precision work, because a bigger pair of scissors, they're just a little more clumsy. You're not going to be able to get as precise as you'd like. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you with this leaf right here. Now I'm going to start cutting it, and this way you can get an idea, if I do this right, of how this is done. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to start with just taking off the top big part. So it's a lot easier to work that way without having all this other stuff hanging on there. Okay, so I got closer. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the leaf and think, okay, well, if I cut, this is the only problem with doing that cutting, as I mentioned to you, in terms of going just outside of that dry part, is that you have to go with however it dried, right? So this one, obviously, it's not going to look like the other leaves when I finish. However, it will be less likely to continue browning, as I mentioned. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And then I'm going to find another leaf on here, and I know there is at least one more, and show you how you could shape it if you just want to cut into new tissue and shape it, okay? So here we go with this one. So you can see I've got this here, you see the brown there, and I'm going to get a little bit closer here and kind of just go with the shaping of what occurred when it browned. And I'm going to get really, really close, but as mentioned, I'm not going to cut into new tissue, because as soon as you cut into new tissue, as I mentioned, you initiate new browning. Okay, so now you see this here. It looks, if you were to look at it, and you're looking at a very close-up shot here, if you were to look at it, or someone's to come to your indoor garden and look really close, maybe you do have a mother-in-law that does that sort of thing or something, but otherwise, most people aren't going to notice it, right? So if you see, I put the, and I will go ahead when I'm done with the at cutting the next one and do a kind of an out view so you can get a fuller, get a look at how much better it looks. But right there, now this one too does have a little bit of browning up here. So another thing you can do is cut that, but it's not that bad, so it's not really bothering me. It just depends on how much the brown look bothers you, but it blends in. There's a lot of really nice new growth on here that is very healthy. Okay, so now we are going to go ahead and work on, and I do like the curved, I tend to like these curved scissors really a lot because you can really get around corners with them, but play around with whatever works best for you. Okay, so here I have another one. I'm bringing up here for you to see, so you can see this. Now, once again, this is if I were to cut along the brown, just inside of that brown, it's not going to be straight. So I'm going to try to simulate the rest of the plant, as I mentioned. So this is another method. Okay, so with that being said, I'm not going to bother to cut off the tip. Well, I could anyway, just to get it out of the way. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and look at the plant, and then I'm going to other leaves, healthy leaves, and cut in a manner that mimics those healthy leaves. And of course, you know, we're talking, it's not going to be perfect, but once again, unless you have someone who's really, really picky and looking at all of your stuff, someone who's very competitive with your indoor garden, they're not going to notice that you did cut your leaves. Now, do remember too, as I mentioned, wherever you cut into healthy tissue is going to brown on those edges again. So that being said, try not to do too much cutting all the way up the leaf. Keep that in mind. Try to keep the cutting into as small of an area as possible, so that when it browns again later, you're not cutting way up in the leaf here because you cut way up in the leaf right now. So, but here you can see that looks nice, and it does. Is it exactly the same as the one next to it here? Not exactly, but it's pretty darn close enough where, like I said, someone who's just looking at the plant all together with all of its foliage would not say, wow, that's a really cut up leaf, or I see a little brown. So here I'm doing, as I mentioned, a shot outward here so you can get a look, and you can see that where I cut those, now the plant looks a lot better, and there are a couple more very tiny areas here. I'm going to do the same as I showed you. So there you go. I left a little bit of brown once again on this one, same thing. So take your time doing it so that you end up, you know, with something that's pleasant to look at, and where you end up with that the little bit of brown on there too. I found another one in the back here, so I'm going to do that one as well. And then, so I'm going to show you here. We can do another close-up here. Well, actually now, for just to get a nice view here. And then there's the one that I'm cutting, I think is showing down there. Oh, I left this in from another video. The one that's showing down there, I saw one. Anyway, I'm cutting that one. That one is the one we're going to cut off. This one, we're going to cut off this one in a second. So, but you can see without that one, the plant looks a lot nicer. So those brown leaf tips really are not that attractive. So it is really nice to get rid of them. Okay, so here we are once again. See if this one's a little lower, so I'm gonna have to go out a little bit more the other way so you can get a good look when I cut one more time here. Okay, so I did already start to cut it, taking off that brown as mentioned, and then I'm just going in for a little more precision and just staying right inside the brown. There's just a tad, and the thing I like I mentioned with these scissors, is that I can really kind of do these curves. Like this is a curved area. So there you go. You see that there's a little bit of brown, but not too much. And the leaf should, with that, just that little bit of brown, just stay that way. And then, of course, the leaf will get bigger over time. And then the good news is, with those brown leaf tips as well, the plants do put on new growth, and providing that you do everything that you need to do to prevent the brown leaf tips, which, like I mentioned, is mentioned in my other video and probably other videos as well. I will link them as mentioned. If you do all that, then you can prevent new foliage from having them in the first place. But now you know how, you saw how to prune off those brown leaf tips. Thank you for stopping by today. Please leave any comments about any indoor gardening tutorials you'd like to see. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. And please check the bell if you'd like to be notified when new videos are released.